Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Good moment to you, wherever you are on this sweet, wild, sacred earth. I'm Julie Ling, and this is the Voice of Wonder. Thank you for joining me. Let's just settle in, shall we? Let the flute open your heart and bring you into it and into your body. Just noticing your feet on the floor or whatever they're on and how they are supported not only by it, but by the earth beneath. You are held in the field of gravity. Feel your backside supported by the chair or couch or whatever you're sitting on. Held, supported. Feel your shoulders, your back supported by whatever you're leaning against. And let yourself rest just a little bit more. And notice your breath, that you're being breathed. The breath rising, bringing in freshness and oxygen and life. And the breath falling like a tide. And as it does, releasing any static, anything you don't need, anything that no longer serves you. And as you breathe out, letting yourself breathe with a sound. And feel how that settles you a little more deeply and a little more deeply into this body, into this moment. And as you notice yourself settling a little more easily, a little more gently, a little more deeply into yourself, into the moment, noticing how your body feels. Is it tense or easy? Is it relaxed or tight? Does it feel soft or hard? Just becoming a little more present. And the thing that wants to be spoken today, I've noticed that as I've been doing this now for almost 50 days, which amazes me, something like that. I think I posted almost 50 videos. It's been a little shorter. And I'm consciously, intentionally looking at all of these things, thinking about all of these things, noticing how it is inside. The last few days, one of the things I've noticed is kind of unsettled me, which is that while I'm very careful about using the word should in my spoken word, and when I do, I notice it and generally correct it. I love what Louise Hay said. I try not to use the word should, because when I use the word should, I'm always wrong. Either I am wrong or I was wrong or I'm going to be wrong. I like the word could because then I have choices. And I've noticed that my internal dialogue is full of shoulds, like teeming with shoulds. I wake up in the morning, there are practices I do to prepare me to get me present before I come on camera to do this. And they are full of shoulds. Oh, I didn't do this. I wake up, I need to do this and this and this and this. And the next thing I know, my energy's up here. I'm not grounded. I'm anxious. If I let myself sleep a little longer because I need it, that voice is there saying, you should have gotten up. You should have done this. You should have already done this. You're behind. You're late. You should have. And it produces the opposite of what I'd love for myself, for this, for how I am in the world. And that's been really uncomfortable to see. And I want to invite you right now to just drop in for a moment and notice, just for a moment, are there places where this is running in your inner dialogue and you haven't been aware of it because maybe you haven't been that inside? You've been so focused out here. Are there places where that's running inside of you and running you and like ramping up that anxiety that keeps us up here in the mental field? What Sonia Choquette, who wrote The Psychic Pathway, I think that's the name of her book, calls a bad neighborhood. And thinking is very helpful. And it can like take us into that spin out of being present to the moment, out of being present in what's alive. And the irony is we often don't even realize what the dynamic is. So I want to invite you to just notice if there are places where that's your dialogue and how it might be running you. Other flute, the bamboo flute. And if you hear that little bumpy noise, this is these lovely beads that came from the Amazon. The man who made this flute said to me, those beads, those are from the Amazon. Don't lose them. And that's been 35 years. I haven't lost them. So what I've noticed when I noticed this, well, first I just noticed it and that it didn't feel good and that it wasn't congruent and that it wasn't in integrity and harmony and resonant with what I'd love to be. That this is an instance of practicing what I don't want, that I wasn't even aware of was happening within me. And first I just sat with the discomfort, the dissonance of that. I didn't like it very much. And then I thought, okay, how can I meet this instead of turning my head, instead of running away from it? How could I meet this? And I realized that the part of me that says this, oh, you're late, you should have done this, you should do this, you're behind, is the part of me that's afraid that I'm getting it wrong. And I notice tears come as I even say that. I don't know about you, but for me, so much of my life, I've gotten messages that told me who I was and how I was just wrong. And that's so painful. And the brain's biggest need is to be right. And man, all that shoulding, you are wrong, you were wrong, you're going to be wrong, is the opposite of what our brain needs. And so then we're scrambling to deny it, to do that thing I was talking about yesterday, push it away and grab onto how can I be right and where am I right and let me be right and let me rewrite this so I'm right. And that's miserable. And again, it takes us out of the present, either pushing or we're grabbing, neither of which feel very good to begin with. Never mind that they keep us from being present to the moment, which is the only now here that ever is. Instead, we're nowhere, floating around somewhere, pushing or pulling. And when I met it, what I realized was this part of me was just scared, that I was wrong again and trying really hard to get me to be right so I could feel safe. And I'm going to play a little more and just let you drop in and see if that resonates for you. And as always, I invite you to just consider, just imagine, what if this is true? See if it resonates for you. If that sounds the tuning fork of truth inside of you, great. If it doesn't, then just enjoy the flute music. And I invite you to pause for a moment. If there's a part of you saying, oh, this is making me wrong, no, this is just another way of looking at things, which is what this series is all about. Just check it out and see if maybe that's true for you. And there's a breath of ease in the thought that, oh, maybe you're not wrong. There's just a part of you that's scared, and you have the capacity to meet it instead of turning away. And that could be really powerful. And this is what I'm practicing, as close as I can tell to what I love as I can in this moment, in this place. And that is to meet that part. Oh, you're scared. And I love this is something that Byron Katie, who does the work, and she's worth checking out, that when you say, I should be doing this, or I shouldn't be, or you have, it's just happened, you are arguing with reality because it did happen, or you are doing it. And that is an argument you can never win. And, right or wrong are kind of out of the game, and they tend to really limit us. So if saying you should is arguing with reality, and that's an argument you can never win, like, well, I did, and what could I do in this moment? And what if I was doing the best I knew how? And I could, in this moment, choose to let it go or choose to do differently. And the thing I really found, I was talking with someone else about this yesterday. I had a coach in the past I worked with who would, when she was coaching someone, it was a group setting, and there's something really painful came up, say, you didn't do anything wrong. And every time she said that to me or to another person, my whole nervous system would relax. I would feel myself entering my body because it felt safe to. I think we often leave because it doesn't feel safe here. So I'm out of here. I want to be safe. And this isn't, and I'm out of here. Forget it. Because that's the brain's biggest need, to feel right. You didn't do anything wrong. You're doing the best you could. Would you love to do it differently next time? Maybe. And you could. And telling yourself you shouldn't and you are wrong locks you into that behavior. It certainly locks me into that behavior. So I invite you to, with anything that arises right now, to be the one you've been waiting for. Be gentle with that part of you and tell her or him, you didn't do anything wrong. And I love you how you are. What if you didn't do anything wrong? And just notice how that lands in your body. You didn't do anything wrong. You might have done something that was practicing what you didn't want. You learned that really well. So kudos to you for learning what you were taught so well. And now you could practice, and practice makes better, doing what you would love instead. And the first step in that is knowing what it is and imagining it. So today I invite you to give yourself a little more grace. When you hear that voice, you should have done this. I could have done this, and that moment's past. What could I do now? And to tell that part of you that's saying it because it's scared of being wrong, you didn't do anything wrong. You could do something differently next time. You could have done something differently then, and that egg is cooked. In this moment, you could do something differently. You could practice it. And you didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not leaving you. I'm going to be here and meet you in that fear. Fill that cup that's asking for love, with love, instead of whapping it upside the head, maybe again, being with it. And what would we love? Let's practice that. First, let's see what it is and practice it again. Practice makes better. But that shutting down of you did it wrong, you should have, and you didn't, there's no practice in that. There's only judgment and blame and whapping upside the head. And even if you do practice what you'd love, in that space, in that paradigm, it's like always a hand slap about not getting it perfectly. Nobody is perfect. It's a pipe dream. Please stop reaching for perfection and just reach for a little more presence. We need not that perfect imaginary version of you, but the real human you who's alive in you right now. And when you hide behind the mask of perfection, and most of us have been taught or have thought that's the only way to be safe, I invite you to drop the mask a little bit, because it's you we need. And if the perfect mask is the one who gets love, it feels even more hollow because it's not you. And my deep desire for you is to show up as you, perfect and beautiful, imperfect and beautiful, perfectly you, the imperfect you as you are in this moment, in this body, in this now here. And let us see you just a little bit. And I find when I do that, I'm able to see other people a little bit or a lot bit more. Well, that's my vision for you today, and for me, and for us all. So as you go into your day, your afternoon, your evening, or step into the in-between of dreams, I invite you to be a little more gentler, a little more gentle with yourself. If you notice that voice of should have, meet it. You're scared. It's okay. You shouldn't have because you didn't. And what could we do? And you didn't do anything wrong. And I'm going to stay right here with you. I'm Julie Ling. Let your heart sing a little more gently, a little more kindly. Have a beautiful and blessed day.